Hi, I'm Ivana Paskoska and this is Tech Tribe, navigating life in the IT community. Together with our guest hosts and industry experts, we explore technologies and stories that enable simple, secure, and reliable digital world.
Hi everyone, my name is Stefan Mattes and I'm your host for this episode of Tech Tribe. In Tech Tribe, we explore how digital innovation transforms industries from tech and security to payments and identity. And today we are talking about something we usually use every day, about our cards and specifically our payment cards in our wallets. But as we will find out, a card is not simply a card. Today, joining me are two fantastic guests. First of all, Christiane Zhao, a global marketing mind at G+D Group, and a creative voice who brings a fresh perspective on how technology connects with people. And Rüdiger Vogt, a true expert in digitization and sustainability, who is driving innovation and how we think about payment and the customer value. So I'm very thankful to have this talk with both of you. And let's start right into it. Most of us use cards literally on an everyday basis, but I would assume very few people know what's actually really happening when we tap or we pay online, and actually even the more basic, what cards are. So I would like to start with a very basic differentiation, Rüdiger. What is the difference between a physical card, a digital card, and a virtual card?
Oh, wow. You're already going for the three variants. I think everybody of ours knows the physical card. So that's the typically plastic card that we use every day. With the chip inside and the magnetic stripe on the back that we hardly ever use anymore. So that's a bit of a legacy, but maybe Christiane can talk about that later. So that's your physical card. That's in our physical wallet. And then there's the digital card, and that's the representation of this physical card, typically in a digital wallet, for example, inside of the Apple Wallet. And then there's the more exotic animal. That's the virtual credit card. That's a temporary or secondary card number linked to your existing physical credit card account. And that's created specifically for online or in-app purchases to protect your real card details. And often that's even disposable, or you can delete it after use. So like for one-time use. So that's the difference.
Thank you for this clarification. You already mentioned payment. Obviously, we do payment with cards. And in order to do payment safely, especially in the online world, there are some security measures, and one of which is the so-called PAN, or the card number. So first of all, Christiane, where is it shown? Where is it stored? And how is it possible that in the recent past, more and more cards without a printed PAN came out?
Rudy has actually given a very good introduction overview of some of the key components of payment card, and PAN is actually one of the important components that make sure the card is functional, especially not just in the in-store situation, but also online. So PAN is usually referred to primary account number. It's about 15 to 16 digits that can show on the card that can use it to identify the account. So it's very common in the old days that we type it in ourselves for e-commerce transactions, but it's actually usually stored in a bank database, is tokenized in a digital wallet, and is usually encrypted in the payment system because it's such an important information, which should not always be publicly available. And for actually nowadays, many of the modern payment card, they can exist without a visible PIN. Using some example that some might know with this Apple card that occurred in the market. It was a shocking, let's say, market innovation because most of the people have the idea in the mind that the payment card should look like a certain way with all the elements in there, including magstripe. But it doesn't necessarily need to be like that could be for security reason as well. And nowadays, very common that the pen is being tokenized in the digital wallets for device-specific tokens instead of using a real pen.
Okay, but when I get one of these new cards where there's no PAN on it, it's maybe simply my name or not even that maybe. So what if I want to do an online checkout? Where do I get my PAN from?
It's very very common that you're seeing nowadays people don't just use a physical payment card because they can also use it in parallel with their mobile banking app. And as Rudy has mentioned, there are also other type like virtual card. It's for example, if you're a fintech user, you can easily log into your app and then you can just click on the card or the card icon that exists in there, and you see this quick animation that the card is being flipped, and then you see like a PIN number and the CVV number being shown for either one-time use or as a permanent existing options.
Perfect. So this is already the interaction of how the physical world and our digital capabilities with apps come together and have a symbiosis which everyone is benefiting from. When it comes to cards, whereas few logos we regularly see on cards, which are often referred to the card schemes. In Western Europe, I would say the most common ones are Visa and MasterCard. There are obviously a few more, Diners Club, Amex, and so on. Rüdiger, which role do the schemes play in the card business?
Yeah, so you already mentioned two of the major, what we call payment schemes, Visa or MasterCard. So I knew that at one point we will have to talk about the four-party card model or four-corner model in the payment card world. So let me explain how that works. So in this model, there's the card holder. That would be you, Stefan, for example, with your own payment card, maybe even physical payment card. There's the merchant, so the guy that you buy from in a shop. So your favorite ice cream dealer, for example. And then there's the issuer of your card. So that would be your bank. So if you're with the Sparkasse, that would be in this case a Sparkasse. And the acquirer, so that's the bank that the merchant works with. It's either a bank or it can also be a payment service provider, so-called PSP. So maybe you've heard the name of Adyen or Worldline. So these are the guys that are active in this space. So cardholder, merchant, issuer, and acquirer. And in the middle of this system sits the card scheme. So Visa or MasterCard in your example. And they're operating the network that links the issuers and the acquirers. And what do they do? So they operate this global network. They also define the technical standards in this network. So the rules for all participants. They ensure there's a global acceptance for their brand. You were mentioning,
which is a major part, right?
You were mentioning the logo. So if you see a MasterCard or Visa logo, then you know, this is great. I can pay with all of the three cards that you've mentioned. If it's online, if it's a real shop, it's a physical shop, you can pay with your physical card or your digital card there. Exactly. And then two more things that the schemes do. They develop security frameworks as well. So there's crazy acronyms for this. I will not go there, but it's basically fraud prevention systems, tokenization systems that they're working on and that they're implementing. And they're also driving innovation. So they introduce new services like at one point, contactless payment was invented and brought into the market, and that got a crazy boost during COVID times, for example, or then also tokenized wallets that Christiane was also alluding to, open banking APIs, so all of the above. So they're really driving forward the innovation in payment as well.
So it's really a central pillar when it comes to payment and how we deal with payment also on the consumer side of things. Interesting.
And adding up on that, when I should explain this model to people that don't come from the payment backgrounds, I think one example to quickly use is when the scheme doesn't exist. So before Visa and MasterCard, what happened is you can only pay with your Bank of America or Deutsche Bank card with a Deutsche Bank or Bank of America POS machine. So at that time, the store need to have many different POS machines to make sure that the customer with a certain card can pay. But now with the development of Visa and MasterCard, of course, you don't need to do that because everyone is having a joint network.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. So basically, the schemes introduced kind of an universal abstraction layer to make payment more accessible, basically, right? There's one more basic distinguishment which I would like to make, which is credit card versus debit card. So from past times, I think one distinguished element was a credit card usually had 3D letters printed on it, versus the debit card was more flat, for various reasons. Nowadays, I believe the difference is not that major anymore. But Rudi, what's the difference? Let's simplify it and keep it for the Western world.
Yeah, credit card you have an embossing, and debit card you don't. No, of course this is actually what you see and what you can feel even on the physical card, right? So the embossing back at the time for credit cards was necessary, so you could use these swiping machines in order to make a carbon copy of your credit card numbers on a form, basically. That is not needed for many years now. Still, people think that a credit card is not real if it doesn't have this embossing. So we very much cling to this touch and feel, which is a wonderful topic later for Christiane to talk about how important it is actually to have a physical card still in hand. But you were asking about the difference, and the real difference is that for a credit card, you actually borrow money from the card issuer. So your bank or a Visa and MasterCard partner. So when you pay, the issuer pays the merchant on your behalf, and then you later repay the issuer either in full or over time. And if you don't pay in full, then an interest is charged on the remaining balance. So that's the credit card. The debit card means the money comes directly from your bank account. So when you pay, the funds are immediately deducted from your current account. And that also means you can only spend what's in your account, right? Or however much overdraft you have. And then that's it, right? So that's the major difference in terms of the use case. Yeah.
Thank you. And I would like to use this transition actually for real-world use cases. Christiane, in which situations is a physical card still not only essential, but also highly appreciated by all of us consumers?
It is a great question. And for G+D as a pay tech, we these questions come up every day because we not just produce payment card, but also produce cash and also other form payment as well. And there are lots of people ask us this question because it's getting more and more common that we see people are getting used to Apple Pay, to tap and pay using their mobile app or smartphone. But we are still seeing there's growing demand in cards in different countries and regions when we look at it from a broader perspective. To start with, our daily uses, is still common that we still have a few payment card in our wallet because we just want to be sure if our phone is not working when the battery die, we have something in there to enable us to withdraw cash from the ATM machine or to pay at the merchant. Beside that, as a customer, I'm very actively using different fintech app as well, and it's getting more and more common that we see the fintech is using the card as a gimmick, not just to prove that now they have a banking license that they can issue a card, but also use this to gain a trust with the customer. So the customer will know, for example, some of the player like a trading platform like Trade Republic that became a bank. They can remind a customer that they're really a trusted, valid bank that you can store money in there. So it's also a mind game or emotional attachments between the banks and the end customer as well. And after all, we do see payment cards or cash is still acting as a matter of choice and availability for the customer based on their payment behavior. Of course, there are also customers that really need to use certain form of payments because they might not be a big fan of the digital world. They might not be very comfortable using the app. It could be, for example, the older populations or people with disability as well.
Okay, what you're already touching off, great. Let's move it a bit forward. But is this diversity of choice? So what we as G+D bring actually to the society, right? So as you already mentioned, G+D is producing cash or cash producing machines, also cards in different form factors, and with Netcetera as the digital powerhouse of G+D, also digital opportunities of how we can interact in the market when it comes to payment. Why is this so important, and why is it also important for us to have this diversity of choice out there?
Actually, payment is the basic. I will understand this payment as a basic right for someone to exercise their rights and freedom in the society. And we have observed in many cases where customers might experience challenging in paying in the way they want. And on top of that, we are also seeing the habit of payments or the trends of having certain payment methods become a mainstream, like a UPI in India or WeChat Pay in China. This is a process that's formulated due to many different reasons, and we are for sure not the ones controlling who is paying with what. We do see there's a trend that's emerging where the digital payments it's just coming to the place where, while we understand, of course, pay card doesn't just exist as a token, but it can also like a digital format, just a mean of payment. It's really important for us or the banks or the society to provide different forms to enable the diversities of the society to exist, because we need to protect the right of the people based on their choice or willingness. And of course, the other topic that we could cover later on, it's the choice of payment or the choice of payment card can also reflect the let's say the missions or the message that people would like to pass out to people around them and also to their community as well.
Super interesting. Thank you for your details on this. Rüdiger, where is now the real strength of digital cards and digital wallets, and how can we as G+D Netcetera also support this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the benefits of the digital card are is first of all the flexibility. So I personally have I don't know, half a dozen cards at least in my digital wallet. So it's quite easy to swipe and just use the right one that fits the best for me in a specific payment situation. Then it's the biometrics. I love the fact that I don't have to remember 6 different pins in my case, but I can just use my face in order to authenticate. So that is helpful, and it's also the speed. If I have to pull out my wallet, my physical wallet, use the right card in a situation where I'm at Tokyo Station or Shibuya Station, for example, try doing that with millions of people passing you or jumping over you while you're trying to do that. So it's much easier to just pull out your phone or to have your phone with you. You have it anyways, right? And then use it in a contactless way at the turnstile. So these are for me these are the most striking benefits. At the same time, yeah, as Christiane has said, and I think we'll get to that. There's good reasons why. Also, when I was in Tokyo recently, I still had my physical card with me, and there was even cases when I used it. So. It's really the coexistence of the two. I think that makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm. A bit more an exotic case, I would say, for many people still, virtual cards. So what are the good use cases of virtual cards, and why do these make really sense?
I can tell you that from a personal perspective, if I were to buy let's say an online game or something with a vendor that I've never used before, preferably way outside of Germany, then I would probably want to use something that is extra secure. Yeah, that adds an extra layer of security to this online transaction. And for that, I could use a virtual card. I think that's a nice use case for this. Another use case could be for corporate payments, so like one-time corporate payments when you have larger amounts, maybe even that you want to pay, but you just need this this instrument once, and you don't have to remember anything or use it. Then that's a good way to do it.
And it's more secure compared to your standard card because you generate it for this one instance, and afterwards it becomes useless, right?
Exactly. So if for this said online transaction with this gaming platform, if I had used my physical card with the PAN and the CVV, then chances are this is stored somewhere with the merchant. That could be hacked, and then people would have my PAN and CVV and can go on a shopping spree with my data, right? If it's a virtual card, it was only good and valid for this one transaction when I was buying this game, and that's it. And they can never use it afterwards. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You just mentioned you have half a dozen of cards within your wallet. So I assume all the three of us are kind of a bit biased and a bit into a bubble of cards and payments and banking and digital banking. So if I remember correct, the average Central European consumer has below 2 cards, like average below 2 cards in her or his wallet. Christiane, how do users and consumers can keep up with all of what we just explained? Because many of these things sound terribly complex, while actually it should make life easier and should also be easy for the consumer.
Actually, of course, according to other statistics that I know, people have actually more card than we thought. So in some country regions, we have an average of 7 card. If you, of course, it depends where you are, right? For example, in the US, it's very, very common that you really get a new card being shipped by the banks to you and on a random day, which happened to me when I was a student in there. We also see, for example, in Asia, like in Japan or China and Korea, you see banks find all the way and gimmick just to try to launch a new card program and ship you a new card. And it's true that for us that are in a bubble, we are probably very interested in teaching and trying out new fintech and neobank as our previous discussion with Rudy. I also have many different fintech that are on my phone, and I have, let's say, more virtual card or digital card than a real payment card in some cases, even though I might have at least, like, let's say, 5 card in my wallet. There are actually lots of methods that are being developed. One example that we have already mentioned, for example, for Apple Pay. This is a very iconic wallet that exists in there. However, in the old days, that Apple Pay was the only one valid method for paying via NFC on an iPhone. But now, since the gateway has opened up, so this will be a new land for the banks to explore and avoid Apple tax. But we also look at other examples, for example, like PayPal, one of the biggest new bank in the world right now. They have also experienced encouraging their customers to have their payment card method store on their app and pay with NFC. And also look at far side from the world, we also have Union Pay that allowed customers to have all of their payment card linked to the app as a digital wallet for payment. And the customer can actually see by the end of the month how much money they've used among all the payment card that they use, no matter if this is debit or credit. So the customers' behaviors are really changing and evolving. Of course, it's different across different age group, but we do see the demands of different payment means or of like multiple type of payment card program still exists there, no matter they're still using physical card or not.
Good. So we now heard a lot of great things which are going on. On the other hand, how consumers can also keep track with all these developments. Rüdiger, you told me a hypothesis you may have, so that people don't order a card because of its beautiful design and or functionality around.
Christiane will hate me for this, yes.
But maybe more for the benefits, right?
Yeah, I think it's. I'm sure Christiane will get to that point, and I'm very familiar with the point of why it's important to design a physical card in a certain way, or even to have a certain material for a card. So I can even add some real life examples for that. I just wanted to make sure that in this podcast also we're not only talking about the appearance of a digital, doesn't matter, of a digital or a physical card, but also why are people actually signing up for a card. And in my view, for most of the cases, it's because of the benefits that they're getting out of this, right? So that's why Christiane and myself have half a dozen or more cards, because one offers whatever airline mileage, the other one offers a discount at a certain store, the third one is the best for transactions outside of our home country, and things like that. So I think these are also very typical user motivations that we need to keep in mind, right? So the added value, so to speak, of the card that you're using. Yeah. So that was the reason for my hypothesis. Yeah.
And these are but completely independent of the form factor. So it doesn't matter if it's digital or physical.
True. Yes.
Okay.
And this is more common, especially when we are seeing there are more fintech coming into the place to become a neobank, because beside having like a traditional bank or a neobank account, you also see like trading platform are becoming a bank, which you were used to be a customer of the trading platform, but now they become a bank, so you got a card from them. And on top of that, I also think it's not interfering with each other of like the importance of a card design and the importance of the card program. We have done quite some research in the past 1 or 2 years. It's true that the benefits of the card program is very, very crucial to define how premium a card or a card program should be and how attractive it is, because there are quite a lot of ranking existing online.
Yeah. Rankings, but also, at least from my personal experience, you also see it, right? Every other card issuer has a gold card and a silver card and maybe a platinum card, and everyone obviously wants the platinum card with the best launch access at the airport and so on. So that's really a topic. Coming back to the digital world for 1 second again. Rüdiger, we have the situation now that we have physical cards, we have purely digital cards, but still we want to manage both of these with one card app. So the card app can act as certain card management facility, and within G+D Netcetera we are quite experts on this. But how do we make sure that the user still understands which card he is looking at, and what actions for what actions is the app there?
Yeah, I think because the user is so much used to having a physical card, actually that's why the representation in the app is even has a card form factor. So it would be enough to just show a number or a name or a picture of your dog or something versus your cat, so you can distinguish two cards or two payment instruments, but it's still the picture of my blue or green or gold card, whatever, even with the bank logo and maybe even the MasterCard or Visa logo on it, because that is what I remember. This is what a card has to look in my mind, right? So I think that is very important to have this representation also in a card app. I mean, if you're looking at the broader picture, so what do users expect from a card management interface? I think this even goes a lot further than this, because then we're talking about the balance and transaction tracking, instant notifications, maybe even bill payments and statement views. So things like that are the minimum, so to speak. And then of course all the security features like the biometric login, the dynamic CVV that you can use actually. So you don't need to use the static 3-digit code on the back, but you can have something dynamic that is only good for a certain period of time. So that adds additional security. And then also financial insights control, like the spending analytics, and you can even apply AI to that these days. Budgeting tools, rewards tracking. So we talked about these packages that are included. So these are all things that I, as an end user today, would expect from my card management interface. And then there's new things, or rather new things that are coming to market now, like tracking your subscriptions, so subscription management for recurring payments, carbon footprint tracking, so adding a sustainability aspect to it, credit score monitoring, maybe not so important here in Europe or in Germany, but definitely in the US, that's a big thing. That's actually why people are using. When I was living in the US, I had credit cards because I needed to build up a credit score, right? I came as a blank sheet of paper, and then I had to build my credit score. Initially, I didn't get any credit card offerings for the first half year. And then I was flooded. After 6 months, I was flooded because they saw, he's actually paying his bills. Great. So that's where the score monitoring is important. Buy now, pay later. You can integrate that with Klarna, one of G+D's clients being at the forefront of this, for example. And and then these famous virtual cards that we were talking about. So all of these things you can integrate into a real cool card management interface. Yeah.
And the huge benefit also for the card issuer on this side is that he also in the digital world keeps the custom interface on the smartphone of the consumer. What I found super interesting, what you mentioned is this. Also in the digital world, a card has to look like a card. So as you mentioned, a card could also simply be a payment token or a number or whatsoever. But all of us are so much educated that we pay with a card that even in the app, a card has to look like a card. I think that's a highly relevant thought. And I would like to use this as a transition to card design, identity, form factor, also to card materials. Christiane, what are the trends in card design and card form factors, materials?
When it comes to car design, if we look at it from a pure technical perspective, it will be components of two. One is the car body by itself, which is let's say it could be a piece of plastic, but also can be metal, wood, ceramic, recycled plastic, ocean plastic, and so on. On the other part will be the personalization factors. So, for example, the pen number you're receiving, your name on the card, those are the personalized factor. And both of them in combination work together to provide us with a nice card design to fulfill certain purpose for the bank. And when it comes to the card design trend or the visual trend, it have a lot to do with multiple main players. For example, the traditional bank is there; they set the foundation, the standards. But we are also seeing that neobank and fintech is coming into place with their collaboration with, let's say, visual artists, with pop artists, and also getting inspiration from classical, traditional artwork. And we see that this is really becoming a token for us to express our personal style and values, especially at the point when we pay. And it gets this is an interesting trend that involves also for the young people, because in the old days we take out a metal card to pay at a post machine when you have a business dinner with your customer, so they really see it at the point when you pay. But now the reason why a card artwork can still be relevant is because of social media. So social media like Twitter, or now they call X, Instagram, LinkedIn, they're being used to promote certain car artwork, especially when it's artwork, it's in collaboration with a pop artist or with a pop star that's available and being active online. And beside that, as a social currency, we are also seeing, like, from a material perspective, that it's getting a more and more diverse and wide range of material being introduced. Of course, it have to do with the advancement of technology, that we're able to leverage more material and make them in control, actually. For example, converting like wood into a wood car or wood payment car. Many of the end customer might still have not seen it, but we have seen that, for example, fintech in Germany that have launched with car to really catch the eye sign of the customer. Metal cars is getting more and more popular, and also the overall price of the fraud is getting lower. That's why it's become a commodity nowadays. And fintech is always trying to use new card to act as a gimmick to attract customer from a traditional bank to them. And beside that, as some of us might know, we are seeing that car is shifting from a horizontal design to a vertical design. And in parallel, we see that the front size is actually getting bigger with a greater color contrast. This is not just because of the taste of the customer, but also because of a consideration that we are having an aging population globally. So making people easier to see the car, to interact with the car, to give a sense of belonging with them, not just in the physical world, but also in the digital world and app, become more important for the bank, especially for banks that are closing up and having less and less physical touch point with their customer.
I have the strong feeling that there is enough to talk for a separate episode with you, Christiane, on especially these topics. So maybe we can plan this for next year as a separate topic in the podcast. One more question in this direction still. Which role plays AI, or will AI play in the short or medium term when it comes to card design?
Yeah, we see AI as a buzzword. You can never walk around without. That's a theme. And AI is being played in multiple roles. To start with, just 2 days ago, I actually saw a very popular fintech like Revolut have launched, let's say, a series of cards on Instagram and say, hey, those are all cards that are decided by AI. Which one do you like? Please vote for it. So we are seeing AI is blending in not just in other creative industry, but also in bank that are acting as like a helper to develop car product. We are also seeing that not just G+D, but also MasterCard or some other bank like Sparkasse, they've launched this AI studio for their customer, where the customer can go online or on their app to write certain prompt and design a personalized card for them. And we see this as a new inspiration for us because, of course, AI generate new content based on what we have gave to them and what's existing in the internet. But on the other side, it really make the car artwork a lot more personal compared with in the old days where everyone received the same car with the same design coming from the bank.
Great. Thank you so much. We actually already are a bit over time, which is perfectly fine. I would like to have a little closing statement from both of you. And Rüdiger, maybe I start with you. A card is not just a card because
your life as you know it might depend on it.
That's a good one.
Short.
Your life depends on it. Christiane, let's top that.
A car is not just a card because it's a gateway to financial empowerment. It's also a symbol of trust and a bridge between digital innovation and everyday transactions.
Amazing. So we have the lifesaver on the one hand and the empowerment on the other hand. So that's it again for today's episode of Tech Tribe. A huge thank you to Christiane and Rüdiger for joining me and giving us your valuable insights from hands-on work in the industry. I think the way we use cards doesn't matter if digital, virtual, or physical, but really changes how we as consumers also use cards and our payment experience. And if you like this conversation, please make sure to follow us on Spotify or on YouTube and share this episode with your colleagues also. So spread the message and leave us a comment. Thanks for everything and tune in next time. Stay curious.